Long ago, Dutch explorers were captivated by the way Buddhist fortune-tellers used tea as a form of divine guidance. The way the tea was ceremoniously drank from bell-shaped cups and then interpreted into meaning was profound magic. The ancient practice of tasseography was then introduced to the Netherlands through tea trading and Buddhist teachings. Quickly, it spread all throughout Europe, flourishing throughout Victorian England. Over time, it began to fall out of practice. Mothers slowly stopped teaching their daughters. Society stopped openly accepting alternate forms of divination. And somewhere along the line, my grandmother's grandmother decided not to teach her how to read the tea leaves. What if divine guidance is inherent to who you are, and the method in which you connect is just a conduit? And what if no matter what you do, it will find its way to you so that you can make those divine connections? Even if your great-grandmother didn't teach you, you may already know. This is the story of how the premonition that should have saved my mother's life didn't. I miss you, Mom, and I'm sorry. Welcome to Who Are You? Curious Stories of Family Lore. Welcome to Who Are You? Curious Stories of Family Lore. I'm Weetsy.
And I'm Sam Ivy.
And thanks for joining us. We are here to talk about premonitions.
Spooky, spooky.
And tasseography. Which, Sam, do you know what that is?
No, it sounds like something you do with taffy, and I know that's not right, but that's what I see in my head.
It's incorrect, yeah. It's very incorrect. But that's a good guess. I think that's a good guess. So, we are going to kind of dive in a little bit today about some of the fortune telling and I don't want to say mediums, but kind of mediums in my family, all women, all runs in the female line. And it started with my grandma Doris telling me stories from when she was a kid and her grandpa Jesse. So I thought maybe we'd start off a little bit about me. We've talked a little bit about Grandpa Jesse, and there's going to be like overlap. There's going to be a lot of times where I mention somebody we've already talked about, because obviously we're all family, so they're all connected. So figured a little bit of history, talking about we're getting situated in the family tree. And then after we're situated in the family tree, I thought maybe talk about some of the family lore of things, of happenings, see if you have any family happenings of similarities, and, kind of go from there. And then talk about my personal experiences. Kind of end with, and this is how it got subconsciously passed down, really.
Yeah.
So we're just going to jump right into it. When I was a little girl, I remember my grandma Wood. My grandma Wood was... The Grandma Wood that I'm talking about was the daughter of Evelina Wood.
Okay.
Evelina Wood was married to Jesse. Jesse and Evelina were my grandma Doris's grandparents, which would make the Grandma Wood that I knew my grandma's aunt, because she was Evelina's daughter, also named Evelina. But
okay.
So I remember I remember sitting down and drinking tea with this grandma. And I remember her looking and studying the bottom of the glass, never explaining what she was doing. But I remember the teacup was a white teacup, white on the inside, but the outside had a gold rim, a very angled handle that kind of looked like a bulb of a flower, of like a leaf.
Okay.
And it had a floral pattern on the outside and a little saucer. And I remember there being teacups and saucers everywhere growing up in my family on my mom's side. This is all on my mom's side too. So my grandma Doris is my mom's mom. And now I've come to find out that what she was doing was reading the tea leaves. She was studying them. And that, the practice of doing that is called tasseography.
Okay. Fuck yeah.
So that is something that runs in our family. And my grandma Doris, she was talking about that. Like, she remembered seeing her elders, women, when she was little, doing the same thing. And traditionally, this gets passed down. Like, this is supposed to be taught and
Yeah.
passed down. But somewhere along the lines, when my grandma was a little girl, it stopped being passed down, at least to her. And the reason for that could be, I actually really, I
It could
don't
be just
know.
forgotten lore, some like traditions when times change and priorities change and just some, fun things like that do get lost in over time.
Yeah, and it's interesting. I was gonna say, like, because my grandma maybe wasn't biologically her granddaughter, but she was. So she lived with them for a little while, and Evelina wasn't very nice to my grandma. Like, she kind of like standoffish, just kind of was in the mindset of children should be seen and not heard, and she really didn't have any like empathy for my grandma, who was just a little girl abandoned by her parents.
Yeah.
Her dad, Willis, was Jesse's son. This comes from Jesse Wood, Van Valken Wood. So he was Dutch, and well, Dutch in practice, hard to find evidence. However, I was looking through the wood line. I went up through the wood line, and I couldn't find any Dutch heritage. But when I went and looked at Jesse Wood's mom, we've got some interesting stuff here. There's a lot of subtle connections. And in my life, I've noticed there are subtle connections. There are like these signs that guide me to decision making and to connections or become connections. And I
Yeah.
feel like these are the ways that our ancestors communicate with us. And
It's like little Easter eggs of life.
exactly. It's so Lavilla Wiltsey was Jessie Wood's mother's maiden name. Lavilla,
Okay.
first of all. Lavilla is an amazing name. Lavilla. But her last name was Wiltsey. And
Okay.
my grandma Doris said that Jessie, who's her daughter, Lavilla's daughter, used to call everybody Wheatsey. And he used to call Ava, or her grandma, his wife, Wheatsey. But it still could be the Frisian Dutch origin. It still could very well be, because we are
Hmm.
Dutch. It all is connected. But it also is just interesting that Wiltsey is the last name, so similar to Wheatsey. Word of mouth easily could have been changed to Wheatsey. Easily, especially if they're Dutch.
100%.
So I was like, well, let's see what Wiltsey comes from, because maybe that's not even Dutch. Well, it is Dutch. It is Dutch, and it actually means wild sea. Uh, and the reason why that's relevant is because this word is a Dutch word given to a baby, a specific baby, born. And my grandma was asking about what it would be like on a wooden ship traveling. Well, our ancestor from that line was born on a ship on their way over. Philip Matone de Wilts had a son, and he was from Luxembourg. He had a son on this wooden ship named Hendrik Martinson. But then when he got here, he was given the name Wiltsey because he was born at sea during a storm.
Okay.
So he was given that surname. So every person, and he came to New York, settled in it was called New Amsterdam in the New Netherlands, which is now New York City. So he ended up growing up and having multiple marriages and spreading the name Wiltsey. But if you live in New York and you find the name Wiltsey in your family, you are a direct descendant of this dude. Because he was born on a ship during a storm, and and that got lost in translation somehow when he got
He's the
here.
OG. He's the OG.
He's the OG, because there's
Yeah.
you won't find a Wiltsy in the Netherlands. You won't find a Wiltsy anywhere really, except for like I think Canada, because some of
Yeah.
them spread up to Canada, in New York, and then there's Luxembourg, where they came from,
Okay.
because Wilts is like the father's first part of his name. So somehow that is the lore behind that. So kind of interesting, and not what we originally thought with Wheatsy, but it's still Dutch, so I think could still be some connection. But I think it's cool to compare, like we were talking about before, the word of mouth versus like, oh, I traced it back to this one dude,
Mm-hmm.
and it's actually Wiltsy, and it's because he was born at sea on a wooden ship. Like,
Yeah.
what? And it was storming. Thank you.
Cool.
So that's the
Cool.
origin of Wiltsy, or maybe Wheatsy. So I'm still, I'm still going to stick to Wheatsy, because my grandma Doris sticks by the fact that they used it as like a cute term to be like my Wheatsy.
Yeah.
So you never know. There's no way to verify it. I'm going to believe what my grandma says. So
At the
it's
end
a
of the
little bit
day,
of,
it's y'all's story to say and do what you want with it. If you want to believe one side of it and that's what your heart believes, then believe it. Fuck it. It's your story. No one can tell you otherwise.
and she's very adamant. When you hear her, she's adamant with things that she remembers. She will not, there's no arguing. I thought that was pretty cool, tracing back the Wiltsy to
Yeah, most definitely, dude.
some dude on a boat. So
I'm on a boat.
now to kind of turn back to, I don't know, my whole life I've been kind of sensitive to stuff that I've never really been able to rationalize or even like conceptualize. It's just kind of always been.
Yeah.
And the earliest thing we talked about before were the voices whenever I would try to fall asleep, like the "don't go to sleep, don't wake up." And
Mm-hmm.
one time there was a voice that told me to get up and wouldn't let me go back to sleep until I got up. And I had this feeling to go downstairs, and I went downstairs, and the gas was on the stove, and I turned it off, and like that was my childhood home. And I've always I always feel people enter the room that aren't necessarily there. I don't know how to explain it. So there's always like, I've always felt sensitive, and I've always dismissed it, and I've always tried to cut myself off from it. I had an imaginary friend when I was a kid, and she used to look just like me. She was a mirror image. Like, I have a lazy eye in my right eye, her lazy eye was her left eye. Like, just
Yeah.
really weird things. So all of this is going to make sense in a second. Uh, I used to talk to her, and she would tell me things, and those things would come true. My grandma Doris, when she was little, her grandma would have dreams and premonitions, and she would have nightmares, and the common theme was anytime there was a premonition or a dream, the dream would be experienced as if you were living the experience of the person the premonition was about.
Yeah.
So it was like you thought it was happening to you, but it was actually going to happen to somebody else.
Mm-hmm. But you saw it
And
from their perspective.
yes. And I don't know exactly, but she predicted people's deaths in our family. And so did other women. And she basically was so upset by it that she just like kind of shut down and
Yeah.
didn't practice. And maybe that's why the tea leaf fortune telling would eventually get lost in time. She would have people over and just have them over for coffee and tea.
Mm-hmm.
And as they're basically, and the art of tasseography is fortune telling through tea leaves. And essentially it's a ritual. And it's a multitude of things. Like, it depends on what kind of tea are you drinking. Is it a mixture that's supposed to make you feel calm.
Mm-hmm.
The tea that you give somebody is just as important as the fortune, and you go with your intuition. So whenever you're going to read somebody's fortune, whatever your intuition tells you to mix together to make this loose leaf tea concoction, you do it. It's a custom concoction for the person you're reading. And so she would mix together these custom tea blends, and she had glass jars to keep these in. So she had a garden, she'd dry her own herbs. There was herb trading in the community, like all these different ways to make these unique blends. They had a farm, so there were different herbs and stuff on the farm that they would go. Did you hear that horn?
Yeah, no, actually, I did not hear the horn.
Weird. But she would gather all these like herbs and stuff on the farm.
Yeah.
Flowers, drying flowers, just like tons of stuff. And she'd make these concoctions, have the person that she's reading sit down across from her, and when they would swirl the tea around, and it had to be a white interior. The teacup had to be white on the inside because any other color could potentially obscure the reading.
Yeah.
And so the person would drink about 3/4 of the tea, and then she would take it back and look at it and swirl it around. I think it's counterclockwise or clockwise 3 times. And then wherever the leaves fall, you read it. And the way that like the general way that it's done is symbols and images will appear in the tea leaves that you have to discern through your naked eye and through your intuitive eye. And so certain symbols will have different meanings. There's 3 different like sections that you read. The middle is the present, and then the top, I believe, is like the near future, and then the bottom
like
is the far future. Yes. So there's like a certain way you read it. Obviously, I've never done it, so I don't know specifically. But when I think of tea, I think of like China. I think of like Asian culture. And so I was like, how is it that my Dutch ancestors were reading tea, like my grandma was reading tea leaves, and telling people their futures. In the 17th century, Dutch traders like traveled to China, and they were introduced to this art. This was a Chinese Buddhist tradition that dates back centuries, ancient tradition. And they were like, that is so cool. So they brought the tea back. They brought all this tea back to Europe, and it spread, and so did the art of tea or tasseography, fortune telling through tea leaves. So it did start in China, but it was spread by the Dutch, which makes sense. It's just trickle down effect. Like it just travels over. But part of the magic of it is passing it down. But I think one of the things that really bonded you and I together, one was smoking weed.
Yeah.
But 2 was embracing the weirdness of life, the spookiness of life, the metaphysical part of life, the not being pigeonholed into a singular way of belief. It's being open-minded and in tune to just the frequencies. And if you come from a line of people who are inherently intuitive and use that through fortune telling, tea leaf fortune telling is such a beautiful tradition that I am lucky my ancestors did, because that blood courses through me. I can learn it, and they will be there. They will be there in spirit to help me learn. Just because they didn't teach me when they were alive doesn't mean that if I don't do it with intention, that they will not stand around the table and help me interpret the symbols and the things in the bottom of the teacup. I'm going to start doing this. I want to...
As you should, dude. You should get your own herbs and stuff. Have your own little setup.
When I was walking, listening to a podcast about tasseography, which, by the way, Witch Wednesdays, amazing podcast. Every Wednesday they come out with a new topic, and it's modern day witchcraft. I listened to this one episode about tasseography, and they had a guest. Her first name's Kylie. I can't remember her last name, but she's written a couple books about it, and she has been doing it for like 30 years, and she talks about her ancestors and the importance of tracing your lineage and using their energy. Just, I was like, oh my gosh. So I'm listening to this outside when I see the sage that we planted last year has come back and gone crazy, but like our gardens
Yeah.
haven't been neglected. There's so much sage out there that I'm like, oh, sage for, smudge sticks, but also you can dry that and have tea. Like,
Yeah.
so I just thought that was kind of like a sign. And that's how ancestors communicate with us, is through signs and paying attention to the small things that don't seem significant, but that was significant.
Everything is. Yes, everything is.
So it was a beautiful day today too. So it was like nice and breezy fall day. All of it was just nice. But
It all came together.
yeah, so Tasseography also took off in Victorian England too. Like it really did. So
Of
it
course.
spread all over. And I have a lot of English in my background too. And so Evelina Castle, who was my grandma Doris's grandma, I believe, I couldn't find Dutch. That doesn't mean she wasn't Dutch, but I found Germanic Europe and English. Danish and Dutch is mostly what my family folklore is focused in. So I was going to look up some of the like Danish traditions, like Danish witchcraft traditions, but in the search I was led to Dutch traditions, which was the tea leaf reading, which is what my family already did. So I was like, you know what? That's good enough. That's what we did. We were tea leaf, drinkers, tea drinkers and tea leaf fortune tellers. That's what we were. So that's enough. We can explore other spooky things from some of the other stuff later. But I thought it'd be kind of cool to now talk about how I'm spooky and how, without even realizing it, I've kind of always been a fortune teller. Yeah, a fortune teller is I accidentally tell the future, or I point out the past without having any knowledge of the past. And I do it without the use of tea. But could you imagine? Like, I've been searching and searching my whole life. I've tried to find my conduit, my tool to communicate, basically, because I know I need to be communicating with something somewhere, but nothing's ever felt right.
You tried like tarot cards, you tried like pendulums, you've tried fucking a handful
runes.
of things. I've been there for the
Celtic runes, which I have I'm Celtic. I'm Celt in my system, in my blood. So runes, they should have worked, man.
My Celtic system.
My Celtic system, man. They should have worked, but they didn't. It never felt right. But I've never tried tea leaves. And so maybe that's why. It's because it's like, no, man, that's not your ancestral energy. Your ancestral link is not with a pendulum. It's not with tarot cards. You have to earn the right to operate these systems. And if I don't have ancestors that came before me that operated tarot cards, maybe I do, but that's not where I should start. Where I should start is at the core. And my grandma Doris raised me knowing about this history. Her word of mouth culture has made me feel close to it, made me want to learn. And I remember there was a short period of time where I still was having weird moments. Do you want to talk about that time in the car on the way from Denver to Colorado Springs and what it was like for you?
Bro. I can't remember if it was like, I think it was in the morning, wasn't it? Like, it was early. Like, we were on the way to school.
We were on our way to Colorado Springs from Denver.
Okay.
So it might have been after class, or we could have stayed at your apartment. I just remember
either the sun was coming up or going down or something. Like, it was like in that in-between phase.
The golden hour, twilight dawn, one of them.
Yeah. I remember being stoned out of my goddamn mind. So, like, everything was already moving in slow motion for me. I was already sitting there thinking about, like, jellyfish in the sky and shit like that. And I remember you like looking at me. I'm pretty sure it was like, "Can I say something without you thinking I'm crazy?" And I'm like, "Yeah, what's up?" So I see somebody in the back seat, brown swooshy hair and a beanie, and I'm like, "Huh." And like you were just making all these connections between me and this dude that happened to be. Later, we found out Ethan. That was the first person in my life that ever passed away when I was like 11. First time I ever had to deal with death. And I grew up with this kid. Like, he died at the age of 17 in a car accident. And never once before this day did I talk to you about him. Did I bring him up? Did I share anything or information about him? And while he was sitting back there, you were like, he keeps like giving me something I have to ask you about a four-wheeler. And I'm like, I don't own a fucking four-wheeler. I was like, what are you talking about? And you're like, no, there's something with a four-wheeler. I'm pretty sure about
Like,
this.
he was pretty fucking adamant about it.
And then I, in my stone stupor, eventually put two and two together that, oh yeah, like, my first kiss was on the back of his four-wheeler with his brother, who I hadn't talked to in a second.
Yeah. Yeah.
And yeah, I'm pretty much being like mind blown at that point, and me looking at you and you looking at me and being like, that was interesting.
I remember sitting there, and I kept seeing in my mind's eye, because when I see these things, I'm not actually seeing them. It's like a feeling that they're there, that something is happening.
Yeah.
I have so many stories. But then he is like looking at me, eye contact, and I'm just like, oh my God, go away. But he's like, and I just knew he wasn't gonna go away. Like, I knew it.
Yeah.
I knew that if I didn't say something, this motherfucker was gonna sit in the back. Yeah. And I still remember his swishy skater boy hair, his beanie, he was wearing a hoodie. Mm-hmm. It might have just been like a baggy sweatshirt with like strings. I'm not sure. But green eyes. Like, I just knew his eyes were green. Didn't have to see him to know. And he just kept pointing to his lips. But yeah, so that was between 2016 and 2019. That's all I know. I don't really know what year that was.
I'm pretty sure it was like 2015 and 2016, because we became friends back in 2015.
Yeah. All of this still coming through despite smoking weed is crazy. That tells you how elevated spiritually I was. Colorado, there's certain places you can live that elevate you, like literally and figuratively, but your energetic, your spiritual vibration is better balanced in certain areas. I know for a fact, Colorado, that area, if I want to be a medium and I really want to embrace it, that's where it is. So you have all this string of things. Another thing, I went to a birthday party, and this I'll never forget. My friend Anna, and I hope that she's listening. I don't know if she will be. Annalise. You know Annalise from CU Denver, AI. Went to a birthday party. Sorry, I can't remember whose birthday party. It's pretty messed up. But Manny was there, so it was like a mutual friend with Manny and Annalise. And she's sitting on like a beanbag, and I just have that feeling. And what happens is I start to get hot right here. And I feel like that's because the ancestral energy is trying to make my mouth open. Like, it's literally like hands going like trying to open my mouth.
Talk.
And I was like, Annalise, does flannel mean anything to you? After like 10 minutes of me just like sweating and like not being able to focus on anything. I was like, this is like crazy. I cannot focus on anything else. And she was like, nah, I mean, I like flannel. I'm like, but red flannel? Like red soft flannel with like black and like little lines. And she's like, my grandpa used to wear that, like a flannel that kind of is described, like, it kind of sounds like this flannel I used to wear. I'm like, yeah, because I'm like seeing an old guy. Oh, actually, no, I said this before. I said, I see an old guy like standing off in the corner and he's like looking at you. And she's like, what? I'm like, yeah, and he's in flannel. And it's very specific red flannel, and I described it like that. She's like, oh my God, my grandpa just died. And I was like, oh, okay, well, he's definitely like right back there. And I was like, He's holding a pocket knife and he's like pointing at it rapidly, like urgently. She was like, "Oh, I was just going through his pocket knife collection the other day." And I go, "Oh, there was like a gold one that's engraved. It's like really intricate. I need to follow up with her actually on this. It's really intricate, and he wants you to give it to Jared." She's like, "I didn't find a gold one." I'm like, "You will, and when you do, you need to give it to Jared." And that's all.
Okay.
All their stuff, but that's like all I remember. But the fact that she was actually going through his pocket knives a couple days ago, and I just brought up the pocket knife. No,
Yeah,
didn't
it's
know her
just like those
grandpa
little
died.
details. Mm-hmm.
So it was like stuff like that happening all the time. Now, the big thing that has changed my life. Like, all of that was fun, but it was building up. It was preparing me. It was preparing me for something that I still don't understand what the purpose was. I don't, and maybe I will someday. I don't really know. Maybe the purpose was for me to continue
Mm-hmm.
and continue and recognize the power that I have, but instead I shut down and I haven't thought about it until this really moment. So until preparing this episode. Um, so I went when I was in CU Denver after I transferred from the AI from AI to CU Denver. I did get to study abroad in Florence, Italy, and obviously you cannot smoke when you are studying abroad. So I was not smoking. So I was completely cut off from that kind of distance. And then the alcohol there is just different. Just different.
Yeah.
It like doesn't make you hungover. It doesn't weigh you down. It lifts you up. And one day I I go to take a nap and I lay down and I like Alex, my roommate, because we had apartments when we were studying abroad and we had roommates and we would walk to school. It was right in the center of Florence. And this one really hot day, I was like, I'm gonna nap because we were going on a field trip, so we would go later or something. So I was like, I'm gonna nap. And Alex is on her laptop on the bed next to me. And she's like, "That's cool, I'll be quiet, like you're good." I lay down and I close my eyes and I fall asleep and then I'm like all of a sudden jolted awake. And it's dark. And I hear people laughing like and partying in the kitchen in the distance. Like really distant, like they sound really far away. And I go to turn to get up and I just feel heavy and I feel swollen. I feel like a glove that's about to burst. And like I look and my hands are swollen and they're kind of like purple. And I go to lift my legs out over my bed and I can't. Like it's so hard. I'm moving in slow motion. It's like I'm under a lot of pressure of water. And
Yeah.
my throat feels swollen. I go to talk and yell and I can't get anything out. And so I stand up and it's so painful to walk. I almost fall over and I'm trying to call to anybody because I hear voices and I'm holding on to the wall and I fall into the wall and I finally make it into the hallway where there's a body length mirror. And I look at myself and I'm yellow. My eyes are like bruised all the way down and sunken in so far that I can barely see them. My cheeks are swollen. My neck is swollen. You can see the veins. My hands look like sausages. Like I'm like, I'm dying. I'm dying. I'm about to die. And I turn and I start walking down the hallway and it's so painful to walk, but I'm doing it anyway. And I get into the kitchen because it's like the kitchen's at the end of the hallway around a little corner, around a little curve.
Yeah.
And I'm walking down and I get to the end of the hallway and I turn and everybody's laughing and drinking and Emily, one of the actual like one of my roommates, she turns to me and she's holding a beer and she's like sitting on the table, kind of like with her hand on her knee, like kind of relaxed. And she like looks and she starts laughing and lifts her beer and like cheerses towards me and then starts chugging it. And I'm just like, oh my God, no one's gonna help me. No one here is gonna help me. So then I run past them all in excruciating pain out and I go to the front door and I push it open. And instead of it being the busy Florence street, you know, it's actually this beautiful paradise at sunset. There are birds, You hear like the crickets starting to come out. It's like a summertime golden hour, giant fountain in the center. Water, beautiful, just water pouring out of this fountain, bushes, flowers, roses, like so beautiful. Like that movie with Robin Williams,
Mhm.
What Dreams May Come. It looked like that.
Yep.
It looked like I could grab the rose and it would turn into paint. Like it was profoundly beautiful. And I turn and I see two police officers running up, and they lift up their guns at the same time and they point and they fire at me because I'm running at them. And then I open my eyes and I shoot up in bed and I'm screaming, and Alex screams and throws her laptop up because it's only been like 30 seconds. And she's like, Jesus, like, what is wrong with you? I'm like, I just had the craziest dream. I'm dripping sweat. I'm fucked up. I'm fucked up. I thought I was just shot to death. I felt everything. Like, I woke up and I was like, like, I could actually breathe. Like, I've never had something like that. So I'm pretty fucked up about it. And I go into the kitchen and I'm sitting there, and Emily, who was in the dream, is like, hey, what's up? What's wrong? You know, you look fucked up. And I'm like, well, thanks for asking. I am. And then I proceeded to tell her the dream. And that's why I can remember it so well, because I told her right afterwards. I didn't tell Alex because Alex was doing something on the computer, and I was like, I'm sorry, I just had a dream. And Emily's like getting shit in and out of the fridge, like just doing stuff in the kitchen as I'm talking to her. And then I tell her this dream, and I'm like, I feel really messed up about this. And she's like, oh, don't worry about it. It's nothing. It's just a dream. And I'm like, no, I feel like it's more than a dream. And I was kind of feeling gaslit a little bit, because I know what a dream is, Emily. I've had dreams my whole fucking life. This was not that. This was something different. And no offense, Emily. I still love you, and I still have a huge amount of respect for you. And I think that you're living an amazing life, and you're an inspiration. And I mean that. She is fucking fantastic. I say to her, I'm like, no, you don't understand. I think it was an omen. I think somebody's gonna die, and I think it's gonna be bad. And right as I said that, the light in the kitchen just fucking exploded. It didn't just pop. It didn't just go out. It fucking exploded. It exploded. It exploded everywhere. Glass. And there are multiple
like
bulbs,
Final
but
Destination shit.
just one fucking bulb. So that made me feel heavy. I was like, I'm gonna die at 28 years old. I'm gonna die. My whole life. I still have my whole life.
Mm-hmm.
I'm never gonna be a mom. Oh my God. I'm never gonna open up my own fucking photography. All this stuff, all this like basic, I mean, being a mom is not basic, but like thinking about me, very like centered around me. Wow, okay, I guess I need to turn more lights on.
It got really dark.
There we go. And so, I go about like the next couple of days thinking like every car is gonna hit me, every person's gonna stab me for no reason. I'm gonna have a heart attack, like just random, just thinking I'm gonna die. And then I get a phone call from my mom so this happened on a Thursday, July 12th, actually, and 12 has been my number my whole life. Everything happens on the 12th. I get a phone call from my mom that my dad had a heart attack and is in the hospital. And I'm like, oh my God, my dad's gonna die. Because he actually is getting us, so like he's always had heart problems. We have a genetic defect, it has a name for it, but essentially we have an extra wire in our heart, and I have it as well. It just hangs out, and it's fine until it like hits something, like connects with another wire. Then it causes your heart to short, and you'd have an extra beat. And if that happens, that's called arrhythmia, and you can go into cardiac arrest. So he has to get that checked out next week, actually, for, and he's dealing with all of that. So this is kind of relevant. But, so I'm worried. I was worried. I'm like, oh my God, he's gonna die. Well, he didn't. He got better. And so I was like, okay, he's not gonna die. But I was so fucked up about that. And then in August, so this was in July. So then in August, I get a phone call. I'm back now in Colorado. I'm no longer overseas. My brother has cancer. He has kidney cancer. At stage 4 kidney cancer. Gonna spread any second. Or maybe it's stage 3 and hasn't spread. Stage 4, I think, is when it spread. So stage 3, basically, he needs to have his whole kidney removed. And this happened in August. He had the surgery. My mom took care of him. I never thought about my mom. I never thought about her once. I was like, my brother's going to die from cancer. It's him. He's the one that's going to die.
Yeah.
He gets better. My mom is nursing him back to health. I mean, he was in bed, bedridden, being taken care of from August until December.
Yeah.
I was so pissed at my mom. She was an alcoholic. She never was growing up, but she was an alcoholic, just for the listeners. She had gastric bypass surgery in 2012. And it just kind of took hold of her. She replaced her food addiction with alcohol, and alcoholism runs in our family. And, it was a long struggle of watching her die slowly. And I just kind of cut ties. There was 14 months before she died where I really didn't talk to her. And I was only talking to her at that time because I started talking to her again because she called me, in Italy. I was really distant though, just communicating really basically. And I regret that every day, about how distant I was with her, how hurt I was that she was an alcoholic. It's hard to watch your parents slowly die in front of you. When they're dying, that they're killing themselves because
Mm-hmm.
she's dying, but she was also depressed. And she also knew that she was dying. So when I told her about my dream in July, I remember she was really quiet. And she knew about our family history. She knew about the
Yeah.
fortune tellers and the premonitions and the dreams. Hell, she might have had some herself that she didn't talk about. I don't know. And she was just quiet when I told her. And I think in that moment she knew that I knew she was going to die.
Mm-hmm.
Because she wrote me a note. She left a note. But my brother was getting better. My dad was getting better. I was doing good. I was about to graduate from CU Denver with my bachelor's in photography. And I wanted them to come out there. I wanted them to fly out from New York to come and see me at my graduation. And they didn't. And I was upset. And so I was really mean to my mom. And I just texted her, I'm like, did you get the live stream? Did you even see? Because I tried everything. I sent her the live stream link, and she was just drunk all the time, and I was just so done and so pissed off at her for not appreciating the fact that I was graduating with my bachelor's. And I thought it was such a big deal, and I was so angry. And I graduated on December. Sorry, I'm getting upset. I graduated on. Sorry.
No, you're good.
Saturday. And my mom passed away on a Tuesday, that following Tuesday. So she held on and she lived to see me graduate. And she couldn't get the live stream to work. And so she didn't get to see me graduate. But she tried all morning to get it to work. And that shit, as a mom now, could you imagine knowing that you're about to die and you're just holding on to watch your kid graduate and you can't even get
Yeah.
the live stream to work because your tablet that you have is so old because you don't have enough money to get a better one? And then your kid's mad at you. What was the purpose, though, of all of that? when I still couldn't save her, you know? And so I think if I had been more in tune and I embraced more openly what my family has to offer, had to offer, or was just more connected with my intuition,
Yeah.
I think things could have been different. I don't know if she could have been saved. I think that there is a plan, but I know that the universe prepared me. I think when she died and I realized, oh my God, that dream was about her, it softened
Mm-hmm.
the blow in a way I can't explain. Because it's like
Because
somebody
you
on the
already
other
felt
side.
that pain. Like, you already were given a dose of that some, to where it just
Yeah.
didn't make you numb to it, but it made you aware of how hard this was going to be.
Yeah. And it also made me feel like, okay, there's something intelligent. There's some energy
Mm-hmm.
speaking from some other place. So now that she's gone, gone in this version of her,
Yeah.
that makes me feel like there's more of a chance that like that we can connect and we can be together again, or that she's here, or that there's an afterlife, or that there's a purpose. If I
Yeah.
hadn't had
I
that
mean, her energy
dream,
is always there, man.
yeah. And if I didn't have that dream and she just died, there would be I wouldn't have the hope that I have that, okay,
Mm-hmm.
somebody was trying to warn me. Somebody gave me a gift that made me prepared in some way. So I guess the moral of the story is embrace your weirdness, embrace your intuition. If I had just leaned into my spooky, leaned into that, I maybe could have accepted, this gift a long time ago, and who knows what I'd be doing with it now. So it's never too late to start, but when my
Hell
mom
no.
died, I picked up my whole life from Colorado. I moved back to New York. I went to school to get my master's in art education. I'm an art teacher now. Everything just went a totally different
The
way
direction
than
it
it would
needed to
have.
go. Yeah, but it needed to go that direction, because if you think about it, when that happened, you wouldn't have, things
Oh, and
wouldn't
I
have added
couldn't.
up to, you creating that little man.
Yeah, and that is the best thing that's ever happened.
And that's, I think, also what's giving you more of an understanding and grounding to appreciate things that us, when we grow up in our teens, 20s to like even 30s, don't fully appreciate till we're walking the same shoes as our, mothers, fathers, grandparents, all that shit.
Yeah, exactly. And today, while I was doing all this research, I was making my mom's handwritten sweet and sour kielbasa recipe. So,
Ooh, that
yeah,
sounds
so
delicious.
it's so good. We had it for dinner, and I was like, oh my God. And I have so many more notes on Lineage that will go into other episodes. I went down a rabbit hole. Do you have speaking of rabbit holes, do you have any spooky, ghosty, witchy stuff from your family, from your line?
I mean, not necessarily anything that anybody practices, but my mom's always been kind of more of like a pagan Wiccan type deal. Like, she is a hippie at heart, love not war, all that jazz. So she tries to go like the natural remedy of ways. Um, my grandmother on my dad's side, she was a firm believer, especially after she lost her mother, my great grandmother, and then her husband. Like, she tried to get more into like crystals and saging the house, and I look at something that she used to do, which is kind of modern day, like herbology, not herbology, but like whatever the medicine people were back in the day. That would be like, you go to them and they blend the herbs for you to heal
Homeopathic?
you. Like, yes, like she
Homeopathic
had
medicine?
she had more of a modern take on that, because my grandfather having as many health issues as he did, especially after the Vietnam War, when he came back and was HIV positive from a dirty needle that he got there. She,
That's crazy.
during that time, HIV, AIDS, it was like a death sentence. They didn't have anything out. They didn't have any, medication or forms to help it. So she, being the woman that she was, took all of her medical encyclopedias she had, did a shit ton of research, and found all these different herbs that he could take to help keep levels down and keep the body natural. So every week, once a week, she would sit down with a fucking cooler full of pills and the little, like, Monday through Sundays fucking pill filers and dose out his shit. And to his dying day, his HIV was undetectable. So her doing the research she did and just figuring out what natural, like, cause she made, there was garlics, there was this, there was natural just medication out there that she provided to accomplish that goal.
Yeah.
So, like, it was, like I said, it wasn't necessarily practice, but I could see it in, like, what my family does and how they approach things.
Yeah, and also our actions and our desires and the things that we crave are just messages left from our ancestors. So like her finding those homeopathic recipes, well, that's because there's been a lineage of people before her that have used homeopathic recipes, even if she hasn't been taught directly.
Oh, yeah, 100%. I agree with that.
But okay, well, what did, any final thoughts for the viewers, not viewers, any final thoughts for the fam?
I mean, I think it's all like we always say, do your research. Like, hopefully, this allows you to want to go down some rabbit holes and discover past traditions that, might not be practiced in your family anymore, or something to bring back. Always trust your instinct. It's there for a
Yeah.
reason.
Thanks for being here, fam.
And never stop asking yourself,
Who are you?